Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. My name is Tim Malloy. I'm the editor of Movie Maker magazine. I'd like to welcome you to our panel, The Future of Film. We're going to figure out the future today. We're going to solve all of the problems. We're not going to we're not going to complain about a thing. It's going to be really positive and wonderful. And we have the best panelists in Cannes, so I'm very happy about that. Instead of doing the thing where I talk about all of them for 5 minutes and you're like, when is this guy going to stop talking? I'm just going to dive into questions and we're going to sort of go through people's biography as we go. They all have really illustrious and amazing careers. And I wanted to start with Ms. Jamie King.
Hello.
Very excited you're here. You've done so many things in this industry. You were a model since you were basically a child. You went into film, made films like Pearl Harbor, made the two Sin City films. The first one debuted here,
Yes.
which is incredible. You went on to star in multiple television shows. You've acted with everyone from, Al Pacino to Bruce Willis, you name them. You've worked with them. And now you're producing your own films, sometimes with your good friend Natasha Lyonne.
Yes.
You have a project here at Cannes. There's so much in this industry that you can't control. Can you talk about the things that you can control and how you've taken control of them, starting with the project that you're here selling right now?
Yes, of course. I think the way to take control is kind of the opposite. It's really about perception and attitude. So there's something inside of me that has an inner knowingness of when something is aligned and to be. I think it's really easy, because we all have an opening for it, to get, sort of swept under a corporate rug and, be told that we can and cannot do something. And I think the real key, and especially in the future of filmmaking, especially now, is to have an ecosystem in which the filmmakers are working together, because we're already a collective consciousness, right? And so it's like, the abundance of artists sticking together is immeasurable. And when times get rough and everyone's like, no one has money and the markets suck and I know what's gonna happen. Yeah, it's like, do you have a phone?
Yeah.
I could make a movie right now.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
And so I firmly believe that by finding the like minds, sticking with them, and creating a space where people have an opportunity to do something that they wouldn't normally do is the key, which is why I started Hooligan Dreamers Productions. Because I had that vision when I was about 24.
Yeah.
My two mentors were Peter Kramer and Stacy Kramer. And Stacy used to be one of the heads of Screen Gems. And at that time, Peter was one of the heads of New Regency. And now he's the co-president of Universal. And so it was an interesting time because we all lived together for almost 3 years.
Wow.
And I got to watch every daily, see all the casting, the way that things would work, would not work, like how much money was spent on a reshoot for like the third act of Daredevil, to the casting of Mr. and Mrs. Smith, to Angelina Jolie's wig, like all of this stuff. And it was so, and that's just to name a couple of these extraordinary humans that were so generous enough to allow me to be within their space and to see what it is that they're doing and to allow me to listen and in a way shadow them. And so when I came into this, it was like a completely, I started acting when I was 19. And then by the time I was 24, I was like, I'm going to have my own studio. And when I say my own studio, meaning that a collective of human beings and artists that need their voices heard and see their stories on screen, and not have to look at a breakdown of a script for anything that says, oh, it's 5 million white people and, this is the token to check off. It just doesn't it doesn't have to work in these ways.
Yeah.
It really doesn't. I know for a fact from experience.
I didn't know you lived with the head of Universal for that long and got to see behind the screens. You're going to have an amazing, amazing book.
Yes.
I hope.
And George Lucas is a big mentor of mine. And so I got to learn everything from him too, like going up to Sky Sound at Skywalker Ranch every time I wrap a movie, watching every detail about how these people really do it. And especially, you know, people like even George, right? Like that's true independent filmmaking.
Yeah.
And, you know, being out on a lake with him while he's testing cameras and getting frustrated because he needed like to keep it within his ecosystem, within his homies, you know, and that's where the ingenuity comes in and where you figure out how to make something work, because stories are the way that we truly pass down like our learning and our experiences. And so people feel so much less alone when they have that.
Yeah.
It's
Amen.
awesome.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you all for coming.
So you liked how things were going in the entertainment industry, but you wanted, I think, a little more control and became an attorney. Now you're in a position where you can really write your own ticket. You can produce what you want. You can act in what you want. Can you talk about the path that you took?
Well, I wouldn't say that I wanted to break. I was just, as a stand-up comedian, I was making $600 a weekend and all I could drink. So eventually I was like, "What? How can I use my acting skills? Because I have an undergraduate degree in theater to make some more money." And that's why I went to law school and I did a law firm. And then we actually have a show about me being a lawyer called Power of Attorney that we did on Discovery Channel and then streaming everywhere. But now we're going to chop it up into verticals, which we'll probably talk about today. I've
Perfect.
done one, so obviously I'm an expert on verticals. But it's like cutting it up into a minute and a half. So we did that. But yeah, so now I'm coming back, and that's why my company is called Second Chance Pictures, because I'm coming around for the second time. And we do things across the board, and we're a little all over the place on what we do as far as films and projects that we do.
Amen.
So what are the things that you were able to take control of? There were so many things in the industry, as we said, that you really can't control. What can you control, and what did you do with that control?
Well, I mean, it's a different world. It's, you know, to quote Disney, it's a whole new world. So I won't try to sing for you, but you can do everything yourself now. I mean, I started off doing a YouTube show where I played Pastor Shepherd, a televangelist asking for your money. Turned into a movie, and now it's going to turn into a TV show probably. But you can shoot your own content now, and especially with the vertical rise of the verticals. So, and I did a rewrite on a script. We have Second Chance Pictures. We have a couple of movies here. One's a big one. Here being in the marketplace, not here in the festival, but being sold. One's a big budget, $30 million action movie, but one of them is a contained thriller that I did the rewrite on, basically me in a hotel room for an hour and a half. So that's being sold, but that's something that I did the rewrite on myself, and we shot it ourselves in a soundstage south of Austin, Texas, built a hotel room. So control that, and we control a lot of the products that we do. Obviously, we just did the vertical. We put Tara Reid in it, and Vivica A. Fox and myself, and
Awesome.
tried to make a really good story about a murder mystery, sort of a Knives Out kind of thing to make it different. And we're doing one more in July with a producer named Billy Gerber, who you might know, A Star is Born.
Yeah.
But he produces a lot of movies, but he's a music fan. So we're going to do one on musicians trying to make it in Hollywood. But those can all be done on a very, modest budget. And you can shoot all those yourself. So that's something you can take control of and do. Just, do the best content that you can. Because, you've seen some of the verticals and you think that's the worst thing I've ever seen.
You and Billy are a great combo. I love Billy.
But they're making 40,000 a week. So, if you make good content, what are you going to make? So, and that's something you can do on your own.
Oh, we are going to talk about verticals, and it feels sacrilegious here where, the idea is that every film should be seen on a big screen with an audience and proper dress. That's not really how we're doing it in the United States right now. So we'll get into verticals. We will. But Fernando Faro, you came from the world of soap operas in Venezuela, where you're from originally, sort of the closest relatives to verticals at the moment. You went on and started making feature films. You made documentaries. You oversaw lots of films, including The Birthday Cake, which has maybe the best cast of any movie that I've... You had Ewan McGregor, Val Kilmer, you had Paul Sorvino in his final role. Just insane. You just made Self Custody, which I got to see at South by Southwest and at Sundance when they drew Grenier. Excellent. And you now have a movie where you have an investor named Reed Hastings. Which is pretty good.
Go.
So how are you taking control? How are you writing your own ticket?
Well, I mean, I think for a lot of filmmakers, especially starting out, there's a barrier of entry that could feel daunting. like the amount of money it takes to get a film going. Sales agents telling you the casting that needs to come to place so the finance it can get unlocked. And you're just kind of seeing it like, how the hell am I going to get this thing made? And I come from my contemporaries, and I had an attitude of, one, apply without fear, meaning if we get 50 grand, which was my first movie, was a $50,000 budget, and we shot in 9 days in some house in the hills. We make it. If we have 3 grand, so our careers started like not making any money, but making stuff and just control and sense of control. We controlled it. It was ours. And it also allowed us to get into the business sense in a way that a lot of filmmakers, especially first-time filmmakers, don't get, which is how to distribute a movie, how to market a movie, how to find an audience for a film. So I was done asking for permission to make movie. Like, I was sick of it. Like, general meetings where they're like, we love you, let's get lunch, let's get drinks. And I'm like, I'm in debt and hungover. Like, when are we making this? And what's funny was that these little movies that internally also I was in the beginning kind of fearful of, because it was like, can you make a movie for $50,000? Is it going to be good? Am I fearful that it's going to suck? If it sucks, is it going to affect my career? Like, there was so many like self-imposed obstacles that the minute I took those away and said, you know what, fuck it. It is what it is. Like, once it's done and I gave everything I have, it doesn't belong to me anyway. And this industry is so subjective. What my person thinks sucks, the other person might say change the way they live their lives or whatever. So I was able to take myself, like, remove like my own insecurity. And sometimes that is honestly the biggest roadblock, right? Yeah. And from those experiences and from making those little movies, like one of the films that I did for like nothing, it didn't even get distributed, but an executive read the script, took a meeting, and then put me in charge of development and production for his company, and I ended up overseeing 6 movies, including The Birthday Cake. Yeah. And then from those relationships and that experience, I decided to form my own company, and we made the film 52nd State, which we shot last year in Colombia, which Reed Hastings was our investor and producer, and we're now... And from that experience, my partner and I just got offered the Stephen King adaptation, which we're shooting in October.
Awesome.
But it all started off a $3,000 movie. And also, you know, I'm 37. My career didn't start till I was 30. Meaning, like, I did soaps and shit when I was younger. Yeah. But when I decided to go into filmmaking, there was 2 or 3 years where we were just making stuff that no one saw, and we just kept going at it. So it's also like, don't limit yourself to a timetable or some sort of schedule of where you're supposed to be, because that's also just bullshit. Like, you know, like my director from the film that we did in Colombia, it's a second feature, and he just turned, I'm not gonna say his age, but he's not a young guy, but he gave himself everything, never gave up on his journey to make a film, and we were able to do it. So
See, I'm an old guy and I came back, so he's right.
Yeah.
Well, time is a construct, really.
Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
it's not even...
No, but again, like you see so many people like, I'm running out of time, and I'm like, all right, then do something about it. Like, make it then, like, you know.
That's a perfect transition to our next question.
Movie me.
Well, people always say, you know, predict the future, tell me where you think things are going to actually go. But to kind of put your money where your mouth is, what is everyone doing to prepare for the future? What is the thing that you are actively doing in anticipation of your life 10 years from now, 20 years from now? And it might be, you know, I'm stockpiling tuna in the basement, or it might be I'm planning a life of abundance. This is the person I want to be when I'm older. I want to make sure I have time for these things I love.
Well, I think film, theater, anything that requires a human element, experience, specificity is always going to remain human.
Agreed.
So that, I think, is going to be that's going to be a staple for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years. The tools will evolve, and you can't be fearful of the tools. And one doesn't mean like utilizing a tool, and I know this is going to lead to AI, but it doesn't mean it's in the absence of someone. Like it doesn't overplace an actual person. It's just a tool that makes the barrier of entry even more accessible. So there's incredible AI softwares that are coming up. I'm not like saying go do, use AI willy-nilly, but it's not going to take over the creative journey of it, but it definitely is going to enhance and streamline what is going to make independent films more possible for particularly first and second time filmmakers. It's going to make it more accessible from like a cost perspective that can allow you to retain more control. And we could go into the foreign sales models or the pre-sale models, which are like a vein of my fucking existence.
Oh my God, everyone's.
But I think that it's just tools, and we can't be afraid of them. And I'm not saying like there has to be an embrace element.
What
I
was it
agree
to-
with you on that.
because humans created it, and so when I was talking about creating an ecosystem and like-minded consciousness, it really isn't something to be fearful of. In a way, it's like any tool in a toolbox. How can we utilize this tool? How can also, I think, own our own IPs before, you know what I mean? That's a big thing.
Yes.
And stick together and be like, okay, this is what's up. And how can we make magic with it? How can we use it for ourselves and for the rest of the world? It's like, again, this, fear thing. It's a false expectation appearing real. And it's just like when a new camera comes out, right? And you're like, oh my God, this is amazing, but I can't afford it in the rental package. It has temperature issues. Da, 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 da. Like there's, it's like, how can we use it? And I think that, that by staying present rather than projecting into the future is like really staying now, because that's what people, I think, ultimately want in life, right? That's why art is so enamoring, because I get to be right here with you.
Yeah.
And you're listening to me and I'm seeing you, and there's an exchange of energy that's happening. And that's the power of it. That's what we all want. And so it's like, okay, here's AI, and how can we paint with all of the colors?
Yeah. And there's a world of difference between like using AI for payroll and using AI to steal your image or steal Don's
I mean,
image.
look,
That's where the IP comes in.
yeah,
Right,
But
yes.
that's not like, that's also to say, for instance, like something as specific as AI tools that help with subtitles or
Right.
closed captioning,
Yeah.
or freaking like pickup schedules for cast on call sheets. Like these are just honestly streamlined processing tools.
It helps our AD department.
And yeah.
You-
I mean,
It'll be a massive ally. Like I was talking to young filmmakers who were like, "It's going to replace me." How?
Oh,
It requires humanity. Like the scripts I've done the exercise. ChatGPT is a fucking lousy writer. Like it will
ChatGPT
never-
just wants to be your homie and
Yeah,
placate
yeah. No,
and spin you in a spiral and tell you who to date.
No, but I would embrace, but I wouldn't be fearful of it.
One of the things I've been the most impressed with, if there's any production people here, is audio. Because in the past, if you had someone laugh during a take, you lost that take and it was gone, or a train came by or an airplane flew over. And now AI can isolate that sound and take it out of the track, even if it's on the same track. So you have a good, if the actor or actress feels like that was a wonderful take, but you had a train whistle, the AI can pull out the train whistle out of that. So that's one example of things I've been very impressed with AI.
Folks watching this on YouTube in a month, it's going to be edited through a thing called CapCut, and you're not going to hear any of the people talking at the bar.
There you go.
It's awesome. It's amazing. So, Don, as an attorney, are there things that you think are just going to be completely new issues of law or completely new issues of contention that we haven't even thought of yet? And I'm thinking a lot about like IP and things like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, the number one question is who owns it? Who owns this? Who owns that? And
I do.
but I think the industry's trying to keep up. Like when we did our vertical, SAG came out with a new vertical contract to allow union members to be able to do verticals. And so I think the industry's and the legal side's trying to keep up as much as possible. But yeah, I think ownership's going to be a big issue, and also sharing your information if you upload it into some type of AI system and whatever you upload gets used by someone else. Who's going to own that? And I'm not an intellectual property lawyer, so I don't have the answers. Don't ask me afterwards because I have no idea. But I think those are the issues that are going to come up with AI.
I really think if we stick together, we're going to be able to create like a new united artists, and that would be inclusive of AI, IP, etc. And I would never put any of my ideas into a Chat GPT or a Claude. You know, like that. That's like, to me, like the most obvious way to protect oneself. You know, you're going to put your ideas in there. Everyone in the world.
Their department.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
It's fun though.
It is kind of
It's
fun.
an exciting time.
But yeah, I would say embrace change. Don't fear
Yeah.
it. Embrace it.
Yes.
Because, you know, right now, embracing the change, you can make your own product. Like the other panelists said, you can go out and do your own thing. In the past, you couldn't do that. You had to go have a meeting at a studio and wait for them to green light something for it to even happen. Now you can just make it yourself. So embrace the change.
It's
We're
cool.
we're an industry of constant disruption. Like we've seen disruption from film to digital. There was what is this going to mean when streaming really became a mode for distribution? Everyone was questioning about the film going experience. We're still here. This is the largest international film market and festival in the world, and you see how alive it is, and you see how much films are are moving, and how many films are selling in the market. Like, disruption doesn't take anything away. It's not binary, and that's like it's like trippy. Like, we could like live together, and I don't know if it's like affecting us socially, where there's like one side against another, and we can't just like cohesively exist, but we can exist with the technological tools that are becoming and growing.
It's interesting because art disrupts.
Yeah.
And I think that people, let's put an I, like, when I forget, oh, we are here to disrupt. So, it's like, because, spirit is here to comfort the disturbed and disturb the comfort, because the minute things get way too cozy, we get like, we forget about what it is that we're supposed to do. We're not having this kind of eternal vigilance. And so that's why, what you were saying, Fernie, is like so on point. Great music disrupts, great people disrupt, art disrupts, corporations. You got to like shake it up a bit,
Well, I think like a big thing too was that particularly the digital film thing, people are saying, "Oh my
Yep.
God, now all this bad shit is going to be produced because it's so easy now." I actually think it raises
is
the bar.
true.
Well, no, to an
Absolutely.
extent.
Wait, what
But
did you say?
no, you're right. But the things but then it forced like real creatives or real filmmakers to be like, now they cut through the noise even more, because all that shit just kind of washes out in itself. So I actually think it became great for like my generation, that digital movement, because it allowed me and allowed a lot of my friends to get our first films going, and we were able to break through because we considered ourselves, I mean, it's all subjective, that we're pretty good at this shit, that we have good stories, that we have a point of view, and we were able to break away from, the mundane or the
And sometimes it
the
requires
going
someone
amok.
cool like you to be like, I'm doing digital. And then like sometimes we need permission. When we see someone that we respect hopping into that thing that everyone's like, oh, no, 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 no. And then it's like, oh, okay, cool. Like, it creates more of a safer space. Like, oh, if someone I respect is doing this, let's go. Like,
Yeah.
I think that thing right now is verticals, where everyone's going, oh gosh, they're poorly made, or they're just like, soap operas or whatever. Not to knock soap operas even.
No, you
but-
can knock them.
yeah, but people work really hard on those. If people understood the crap that goes into it, like they bust their asses, guys. And
film school on crack.
people
Like,
love them. We forget that
yeah,
it's
yeah,
for the people.
yeah.
Someone is going to make an incredible vertical, and then everyone's going to go, oh, of course, why didn't I do that? So where do you think verticals are? What are the problems? What opportunities do they offer? Dawn has made one already. And how do you feel about them, Jamie?
Well, a lot of people have been asking me about them or asked me to come on to produce. And I was talking to a dear friend of mine and his pal that make a lot of verticals. And I kind of saw this image. Well, I didn't kind of. I saw this image inside of like, a deck of cards when they, like it's a fan. I don't know what that is when they do.
Oh, yeah.
And I was thinking about timelines. And And so it's a minute and a half, and I was asking questions like, okay, so do you write it as a film and then break it up into all of those little micro beats, micro ads? And they're explaining the process, but I see so like I have like this vision of like, wow, the cool thing is that you can really play with time. You know, like if you were to take half of that deck of cards and the other half and then to fold them together, it would be a really interesting story to tell. And there's an opportunity here to really get into the nuances of characters, you know, the nuances of like the deep stuff that a lot of people don't talk about because there's not enough time really on screen, but you feel it from the filmmakers, you feel it from the actors, from the writers, et cetera, which is like, what is the backstory? You know, what are the previous circumstances?
Yeah.
And again, disruption, I think it's cool because like when we have an opportunity to see things from like that kind of again shakes us up, it's like, oh wait, what would I do with that?
Yeah.
You know, and I think that people are gonna really make some brilliant things with it. You know?
No, I agree. I think a year from now we'll be like, oh my God, P.T. Anderson made an amazing.
Like, well, I think it's gonna happen.
Someone
and I
will
think
do
it's
it.
I think someone's probably doing it already.
Yeah, yeah. So I think someone is secretly plotting to make it, and it's probably
My
a
hand is
horror.
raised.
Yeah. What you made one, Don?
Think of it as reaching a different audience. Somebody that watches everything on TikTok for a minute and a half is not going to watch your movie. Ever. No matter how good it is. If one of their friends makes them do it, okay, but they're not going to go to a movie theater and sit through a 90-minute or 100-minute. If they watch The Office on TikTok, okay, so I'm reaching that audience, okay. I'm doing a vertical to reach that person, and then I'll do other projects. You know, we did a movie called Mandate about male loneliness, and I made that, and John Lovitz and Chris Kattan and me, and that's to reach guys that are over 40 that have a family and a job and don't connect with a lot of friends. That's for that group. I'm not making a vertical for those guys. You're making a vertical for somebody that's a TikTok person that watches that. So
Can you
I
tell
see
me
it.
a little bit more about Mandate? Like where that came from and how that played? Like were you worried about like, you know,
well,
I think it's the patriarchy.
we just finished. Yeah, that's why we just finished making it. But it was just more speaking to like the guy that, you know, my age, you get involved in a job and the family, and then you don't have any close friends. You might play golf with some people or do things with people, but you don't go out and do things with a tight knit of close friends. And that a lot of people struggle with, you know, it touches on issues such as depression and suicide, but it's a dramedy. So it has comedy in it, obviously with Chris Kattan and John Lovitz in it.
Is it all white men?
But that audience is for the older male. It's not for the TikTok generation. So
Interesting.
I think I've never personally made a vertical, but coming from a world adjacent with soap operas, what I will say, I think it's an incredible kind of point of entry for young filmmakers to like really cut their teeth into things. And one thing I have noticed, and just from a personal experience of starting also doing commercials, which I have seen brands kind of refocus their marketing dollars or their ability to push their products through these verticals. And I'm seeing it in a pretty large scale. So I think there's going to be a lot of financial opportunity to get yourselves to make things that will be pushed by said brands and get your voices out there. I think it's suffering through a bit of a PR problem because of there's some negativity attached to it. I haven't seen many to formulate an opinion one way or the other. But it's in the end of the day, you know, you're on a set, you're with actors, you're with a camera. Like it's not a difference to me, the mode and distribute it.
Like for instance, like with your project, you know, what would be really cool is like because touching on the topic of loneliness in any way, shape, or form is a powerful thing. And so it's like when I was talking about the deck of cards, like two and then fold it together, it would be really cool to do like every single like how people experience loneliness and where that common thread is, you know what I mean? Like because it's so specific, and I think that's really cool. And so that's a way to like for me to like play with, so we get at all the perspectives, because that is real loneliness. Loneliness is loneliness, you know. And I think that's why we do what we do, so we feel less lonely, you know.
that's right.
It's cool.
And connect with people to feel less lonely as well, because they see something on screen that takes their mind out of that for a moment. And I would just say this too, just from everybody on this panel, one thing that we have in common is that all the stuff we've done, we were proud of.
Yes.
So do good make good product. Don't make something because you think it's going to sell, or I mean, don't make a social media video content because everybody else is making that video. Make something that's good and that you're proud of. And if 15 people watch it, well, then you're proud of those 15 people saw it. So I would say just make good product and it's going to rise to the top. Like he said, there's a lot of content out there, but if you make something good, it's going to rise to the top. And that's what makes a difference.
That's really good advice. And also, like, if you just have a thought, like someone taught me this and it really changed my perspective in terms as being for my writing and just filmmaking. They're like, because I'll see an image or hear one word or hear a piece of music, and it's kind of like, they're like, just write everything down. It doesn't have to follow the structure that we're taught, because sometimes that can seem so daunting, right? Oh my God, what's the beginning, middle, end? Well, sometimes it'll go from F to D to, Z to A. And then you can write it down and you can connect the dots and then you'll see the full picture, and I think with specificity, really sharing your life and what you're thinking about and how you move through life is like, and when you do something with love, it's gonna be great. Everything that he was just saying is so true. Like 15 people, like that's a lot of people, like with what we do, even that's a lot.
And I will speak, it's going to sound like a commercial, but you don't have to use my company. But I own half of a company called Brandon Entertainment with Rolf Auerbach. And what they do is brand integration. So they will put up money for your projects if you feature their brand and talk about it. And if you think, well, I don't want to sell out and look like the Truman Show. But it's not like that. If you have a bottle of vodka that your character in your vertical is drinking, then you might as well say, hand me that Grey Goose. And they hand the Grey Goose bottle and drink it. If they pay for your project and they give you 50 grand to make your vertical, then that's a way to get your story out there.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Grey Goose, you owe us. Thank you for
Or Tito's, that's what I drink, Tito's.
You all. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I just had an idea for
It's
a vertical.
Hit it.
It would be dope, like if you had a bottle of Tito's, and like what's that movie with Martin Short where he shrinks?
Oh, Inner Space.
And
Wow.
like if you jump, if the character jumps into the bottle of Tito's, no, for real, and you're in this whole weird world and what that looks like, it's like a sort of leaving Las Vegas meets.
Being John Malkovich.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. That's an Oscar-winning vertical.
That's an elevator pitch. That's how you do an elevator pitch. Yeah.
What you said?
Sold.
It is, but that's a really good idea, I think. You should do that. For real.
Since we're in the Impact Lounge, I wanted to ask, how much of an obligation do you feel to make movies that actually improve the world? Or do you feel any obligation to do that?
With every fiber of my being. Like I can't, every fiber of my being. That's what Hooligan Dreamers is all about. To give voices to people that don't get their voices heard. It's immoral to me when you have any even a minuscule amount of power to not do that. We are here to learn, grow, expand, and to uplift one another. And I have a very strong sense of justice. And there's so much opportunity, like it's glaringly real. And that's also, the part of that is exciting too, because we have the power to choose what it is that we put out there in the world, just like we have the power to choose who we want to surround ourselves with, and we can always change the station.
Bravo.
Anyone else want to try to answer that? That's a tough act to follow.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm gonna try. Yeah, I know. For most of my career, I just desperately wanted to get to a place personally where I could support, produce, and create opportunities specifically for Latin American filmmakers and talent. And I've gotten to a place now where that's pretty much the ethos of my company. It doesn't mean I tell Latin American stories, or doesn't mean that I niche myself to that, but it has become a mission just in any opportunity that I have to insert that, which is something that I've noticed when growing up wasn't that accessible. There's that joke where I say, I'm not even supposed to be here. I'm like a kid from Caracas. Like this wasn't supposed to happen. And now, flash forward years later, my little cousin has a movie premiering at Directors Fortnight that he directed. And to have like two people in the family in this thing, go watch it. Death Has No Master. It's brilliant. But yeah, that's the whole thing. And even with the Stephen King film, there's, he lives in Stephen King lore is a very obvious place, the Northeast, Maine. And we made a very strong choice to cast a Hispanic lead, and the filmmaker is Mexican, named Isaac Espan, who's brilliant, who did a film called Parvulos, which is phenomenal. Not the most obvious choices. And
Oh, but wait, tell them where you're filming it.
huh?
Tell them where you're filming it. Where's
We are filming Maine and Colombia.
Yes. Yes.
And that's another thing, by the way, too. Talk about the future of film. The world, and this is for all the, particularly the filmmakers and particularly the producers. The world is getting smaller in the best way, and there's like probably some misconceptions about shooting in certain countries. And there's an assumption that there's like a monolith of excellence in certain places as opposed to others. I made my last film in Colombia, and I worked with the greatest crew I have ever worked with in my life. All the heads of departments were local. All the crew, 160-person crew, all either Colombian, Argentina, or other parts of South America. And we're doing the same thing with this highly Americana story. And we're not changing it. Like we're not doing Stephen King in Spanish. It's just it's representing also what I believe America is. And, I live in Connecticut. There's brown people up there too. And so but every project that we have right now has that focus. So that's how I want it.
Amazing
That's a
part
great
too. The
part.
crew, you know what I mean? With
huge,
every
huge.
craft maker, every person, their blood, sweat, and tears and
Huge.
dreams are going into that. That's
Huge.
every fiber.
And you'll find a lot of incredible artisans around the world. So it's also like, don't limit yourself to what you know or what has access. Be a little bit more curious. And also, even from a financial sense, it could probably get your films going a lot quicker, like it did for me anyway.
Yeah, I'm leaving in 2 days and shooting a movie for 3 weeks in South Africa, out in Johannesburg. So the world's wide open too after the changes, and you can go anywhere to shoot a movie. I shot a movie in Mississippi for 2 weeks last month, so not a lot to do there. I love you, Mississippi. If you see a
I'm
video,
about to shoot a
but,
movie there too.
Canton, Mississippi, but the people are very welcoming, and they give you a big tax credit, and
They have a great film commission, and they told me a story about taking the Coen brothers out for, I think it was blueberry lemonade, and it was the best tasting thing I've ever heard of in my life. And I was like, I want to go shoot a movie there.
Come visit me on set.
Are you going to Mississippi?
Like, yes, the next movie that we're producing.
That's
Don't-
amazing.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's
It's
do it
on.
for real.
Okay. It's on camera.
Copy that. Let's do
Okay.
it.
It's set. You
It's
witnessed.
set.
Witnesses. Okay. Done.
Okay. Wait, there's like, for real though.
Okay.
Okay.
It's on.
uh,
What is just because you all brought it up? Okay, first of all, when I think of France, I think of Godard movies, and in almost every Godard movie, there's an interview scene where they ask just the weirdest interview questions. Where one question will be like, "What type of camera did you use?" And then it'll be like, "Do you believe in the devil?" And it's just like something like that. It's like, "Oh, cool." So, what's a movie in the Godard spirit? What's a movie that made you feel less alone?
Les Amants de Pont-Neuf.
Excellent.
That's a great one. I don't know why, but City of God.
Oh my God.
Dead.
I
Done.
don't know
Dead.
why,
Dead.
but yeah, I felt hella seen watching that film.
Oh my
Like,
God.
I
that
felt
is the
like
perfect.
that for me, that's an all-timer.
Fantastic.
I was going to sound like a commercial again. Sorry. But the movie I just shot, Mandate, that's going to come out, made me feel like, because sometimes you have your job and your family and you don't have a close friend to reach out to because you're so busy in your own world as far as being an older guy like me. And so I felt less alone because after I saw this script and read it, and it's written by a really great guy. He writes all the roast stuff. He did the Tom Brady roast jokes and the recent one they did of Kevin Hart and all that. But it was really good. So I felt less alone after playing that role and reading the script and being a part of it.
Lovely.
Y'all have been the most amazing audience. I just wanted to see if anyone had anything that they wanted to ask. Okay, I like your hat. You are first.
What does your hat say?
I would give my soul for that.
Oh my God.
10 points to anyone who gets the reference. It's also written on the back of my hat. So you guys don't count. You guys don't count.
Is that for Tito's vodka? No.
Where do I get one?
I'll tell you the story later. Oh, you probably can't.
Oh, I love an exclusive moment.
Sorry to the audience. I am going to ask a similar question to what I asked. Well, different. So my name is Anastasia and I work. I'm a director, writer, actor. And I work primarily in like traditional filmmaking, but I've just started transitioning into verticals. And I was actually going to ask an amalgamation of two of your questions sort of about verticals and social impact. So I'm trying to talk to people who currently make verticals to move them more into a social impact space. And also a genre space as well. Tell social impact stories, tell genre stories, as opposed to the stories that they currently tell, which we know and think are
I've never seen one.
not so great. I was gonna ask if there's any experience that any of you guys have with social impact storytelling in general, or vertical impact of verticals in the industry.
And what, in respect to social impact stories, like in what context, like the experience of making it, or how we decided to tell the story of the film to audiences and promote the film, or collaborate with nonprofits? Because
Maybe success stories or how they've gone.
we did my first film as a producer was a film called Pink Skies Ahead that was supposed to premiere at South by Southwest 2020 before.
What happened?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. They canceled it for some reason. And that was a story about mental health and of a young woman in the 90s when that was not discussed like at all. And we were obviously very fearful that because of what was going on in the pandemic that we weren't going to find an audience, and it was a very small movie. And when word started getting out about the idea about what the film was about and like the ethos behind it and how personal it was to our writer director, because it was really like semi-autobiographical.
Kelly Oxford.
Kelly Oxford was absolutely brilliant.
Her daughter's my godchild.
Yeah, I know that actually. We had one screening 7 months later. So for 7 months, nothing. The film is sitting on a shelf. And we were all like, is this ever going to even be released? But the word of mouth started happening about what the film was about, the ethos behind the movie, why the film was made. And we had probably the largest buy in my career from a budget comparative to what they bought the film for with MTV Films. That did a very special release around I think it released on Mental Health Day, and it was like a big MTV premiere on their platform. So
I was so pleased and happy from that.
yeah, that was such a cool experience because it was really it was Kelly's like heart behind the film that I think didn't allow it to die. Honestly, because we were very like, is this like, we were fearful about it ever getting released. So that was really cool in that respect.
Is that because the word got around? Is that because you put press out for it in that time, or is that it just naturally came around?
There really wasn't any money for press at all. Like there was zero money, and they made such a beautiful film, and she's one of my three best friends. And it gives me chills.
That's
Literally
right.
chills. It was such a visceral experience, and I mean, literally chills.
There was like the word of mouth. Kelly has a very big voice. Like
On social media, everywhere.
Like
She's written several books, New York Times bestselling author.
So there was a curiosity about her feature film debut, but then we had screened it for a couple people, and honestly, sort of Christ, it was the word of mouth from those screenings.
That's all.
I went around.
It was amazing,
Yeah,
amazing, and that's
that was cool.
that's so cool.
That was really dope. And it also shows like there's no timeline to this shit at all. Like if if movies here at the market, if you guys have films at the market and it doesn't go exactly as planned, that's fine. Like that it just means it wasn't it yet. Like don't lose the thread, don't sell yourself cheap, don't like just reconvene and figure. Like if I took every first offer that I got, I would be miserable. Like you have to just also know what you have.
Yeah.
So
It took me 10 years to make the little contained thriller we have here, doing the rewrites. 10 years to make it. So just the timing has to be right. As far as vertical goes, just make one. It's wide open. You can make it. There's writers that'll work. If you don't know how to do the formula of the little cliffhanger at the end of every 90 seconds, there's a writer waiting to help you. So just make one.
Wait, just one question for you. Have you spoken with nonprofit organizations about what you're trying to do? And because I think that's also like an incredible collaboration and co-partnerships to get that done.
It's in the process.
Okay, great. Yes. I had a film that just came out called Love Danielle that was financed completely on nonprofits, the whole thing, for breast cancer awareness. And it was extraordinary. It was just, and it's like the little engine that could. And it's crazy. It just keeps like boom, 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 boom. Yeah. And so there's that whole world to tap into. And when you were talking about genre and social impact, the first thing that I produced for Netflix is called Black Summer. And it was amazing because they really let us do our thing. And what we did was I was really thinking about the hatred that was going on within the United States and around the world, how people were refusing to cross the aisle, and thinking about, okay, hate and blindness, lack of loving is a disease. It's a dis-ease, right? And my brilliant showrunner, our writers crew was so tight. John Hyams is a genius. We were able to cast whoever we wanted. It was so extraordinary in a way. And then when I was like, wait, can we do this as like a genre? You know what I mean? Because people physically get sick and it turns into like a zombie thing. However, we never use the word zombie. And also we really played with time. So we had X amount, like 8 episodes, right? And so we called it a visual novel. So what we would do is we would break it down into chapters. So, one episode would be maybe 20 minutes and another episode would be a length of time, which to me, even though verticals are, a minute and a half, you can still always play around, with that time. And speaking of word of mouth, Stephen King, so we came out and Stephen King went on Twitter on a Friday night at the perfect time and said it was the best series he had ever watched. Then went on Twitter the next morning, on Saturday morning, and said that showrunners could learn a lot if they could ever think. It was just like, and just that's another big thing. You don't have to be Stephen King. If you have a voice, it takes 2 seconds if you like something to support someone. It takes nothing for someone to put up on Instagram, anything that your friends are doing. It makes such a big impact. And sometimes I feel like people think it's like rented space, feel weird about asking for that, but it's so important. And what I find interesting and what I love about genre is that when you really look at it, it's like I once did a thesis on A Nightmare on Elm Street, and really, John, that really came from intergenerational trauma, obviously, and parents refusing to look at what it is that they did and how it was seeping through, their sort of like the sins of the father, sins of the son kind of a thing. Because it hits it's such a dopamine hit. In a way, you can explore social impact through that, just like we did with Black Summer, in a way that had never,
been seen before. And then our second season was really like the trauma of how what do people do when the whole world is falling apart, who bands together, how do they work together, what does that look like, social currency, really.
That's incredible. Fuck yeah. I'll stop monopolizing your time. But I just wanted to say, for anyone who didn't know, there was actually a vertical showcase in Cannes this year at the Fantastic Pavilion. So, it's at the biggest film festival, the biggest market in the world. So that's it.
All right. If you want to hand it, I
Thank
think
you.
she had a question.
Oh, to shout out to my producing partner who just arrived. That's Emma Comey.
What's up, Emma?
While she's getting the microphone, I'll just say that when I talk about the formula of the minute and a half with a cliffhanger at the end, that's if you want to sell it to one of the apps, but there's no rule. You can do whatever you want and just put it on social media or some other place to put it. So formulas are made to be broken. So just do whatever you want to do.
Amen.
Yeah, speaking of the formula, by the way. So the reason why all those verticals are so popular, because it's like cheap dopamine, yeah? And the stories are completely different. It's like...
I don't see it as cheap.
No, cheap dopamine is like easy dopamine. It's just it's not like bad thing. It's just like
yeah,
how
I feel
you
you like you like it's
yeah,
hit.
yeah.
I think we all could use that.
Yeah,
at some
so
point
it's
until
basically
it
like a
changes the
guilty
formation of our-
pleasure. Yes, you see it, you're like, oh my God, that's a bad acting. That's a story so predictable, but you still hang with it because it gives you this pleasure, this guilty thing.
The
So-
thing is though, like when I'm hearing what you're saying, and I'm not. My intention is not to interrupt. It's like, what if it was that actor's first chance to do something?
No,
and
I'm
what
not-
if like that for that actor, they were terribly scared, and they did it, and it was like such a big thing, and I it makes me like, like it's scary doing what we do. It's scary getting to the truth. It is so frightening putting yourself out there like that. You know what I mean? And so like, that's the thing about like, why now I'm going to be like Vertical's biggest champion. You know what I mean? Because it's like, there's like an ick factor to it, but people are actually like really putting their loving into it, and getting in the game, like what you're talking about, like understanding like, oh yeah, it's a dopamine hit. And that's a way to like really be of service to people,
Yeah, but that's not my point.
What is your point?
Yeah.
My apologies. Actually, I don't know.
So I think I lost the track of my thought. So basically, like I was thinking also like going into verticals because it's something that you can produce with your own power, yeah? And I was like, oh, what if I do it like properly, like with a deep story, yeah? Like without
That's what I'm saying,
cliffhangers,
but you
without like all this dopamine thing. Where would I sell it? Because basically, it's something like you offer an expensive meal in a McDonald's. That's why basically people sell things there, because like buying things also gives you dopamine. That's why people like watch it, get dopamine, and then they buy something. So money go there. That's why it's a lot of money going on. But if you gonna do something like deep and meaningful, impactful, and without cliffhanger, because usually deep story needs more time to develop, and you cannot just like, okay, and now I will hit you all of a sudden because it doesn't suit your story, because deep stories are usually developing in a different pace, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I was thinking like who is the targeted audience, like, and how should I reach it, and where to distribute that if I will get into that.
That's a really great question. And I think it's interesting because when I was talking about nuance and character earlier, the dopamine hits come from tension and release, right?
Yep.
And so if we look at the tension that we carry internally and externally, pretty much the majority of the time, I know that if you do a story that is a drama that's about what humans are going through, that is a dopamine hit. You know what I mean? Like, I really believe when you do something with loving, people's eyes are going to be on it, because it's kind of like when you look at a pair of dice and they're like, oh, this is the only way to do it. Like, girl, shake it up, roll it out. because people do want to hear what you have to say, and people do like dramas because if when they're very specific and really, really honest, it creates that tension. It creates the cliffhanger because we're in the story with you. You know, we want to like root for you.
The story, the cliffhanger makes, the key is making somebody want to watch the next episode. That's it. That's no different than TV or novelas that he did as a young man. It's somebody has to want to watch the next one. So you don't have to do a cliffhanger, but they have to watch the next one. And that's what pays for it. The show I talked about earlier, making $40,000 a week, is on Facebook. But what they do is make you subscribe and pay money to keep watching after you watch the first 3 or 4. So if you want to pay for your product, the business reality is you have to have some type of cliffhanger to make people want to watch the next one and pay for it.
My question to you, because you were talking about where to distribute, where to sell it. I'm fascinated only because and I'll use this as an example that has nothing to do with verticals, but I think it explains my question behind what you just said, was that there's a film coming out, if not this week, next week, called Backrooms. It's a massive A24.
Yes.
That film, from a very young filmmaker, a 20-year-old filmmaker, started by him doing short films that are directly about this feature, and put it on YouTube. And he was able to find an audience. My question to you, is there a world where you can produce, that you have such a strong intention of what you want to make and why you want to make it? If there's, I don't know all the vertical distribution platforms. I don't know. I can't speak to any of that. But if you're getting some pushback from that, shouldn't the response then be, all right, then I'm going to do this myself, however I can, and distribute it? I would imagine the verticals have a lot of distribution outlets. You definitely.
Actually, film festivals that are adding the
Yeah.
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 parts to their film festivals, so you can submit them to film festivals that also specific to industry services that are coming out for verticals that are genre, that are drama. So if you make it now, then when
Yep.
it come out, you can put them on there.
Yeah.
It's more the same in the respect of, like, you gotta just take it on yourself. Like,
Gotta jump
if
in and swim.
if you wait for the yeses.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people looking for product. Like Verza got a lot of funding to pick up product. They may take it on rev share instead of writing you a check, but there's a lot of people looking for content, and Netflix just started an app for verticals. So there's a lot of places to put the content other than social media.
We have one last question, and it is coming from this gentleman right here.
Oh, the perspective.
Hi guys, my name is Victor Hugo. I'm an actor, and my question is for probably just one person in the panel, since we don't have much more time left. I will also try to phrase this as eloquently as I can, because public speaking is very nerve-wracking sometimes. But my question is, in a time when obviously there's such intensity around our current climate with neighboring countries in conflict, our friends also being morally in conflict with each other, how do you guys go about basically navigating that space with the thought of our job, which is art at the core, having still such relevance when there's so many things happening? Like, do you guys, for example, gaslight yourselves into thinking that things are fine and what I'm doing is more important for the greater good? Or is it more a case of embedding yourself with the fact that the art is what is a beacon of light and hope in a time that is such turmoil? And I'm going to make up a word. Yeah, basically that's the question. How do you guys navigate that space, basically? And because at the core, we do our job to tell people stories. So how can we do that when we might be ignoring that story?
I really appreciate that because it really resonates deep in my soul. It's Carrie Fisher once said, "Take your broken heart and turn it into art." And for me, in my personal experience, if it weren't for storytelling and filmmaking and theater and art, I don't know if I could be here now. I need a way to assimilate and absorb and transmute all of this that's happening, and we're sensitive humans. So we're picking up what other people are going through, even if there is a bias or a disagreement that people don't understand, still subconsciously we're all being affected by this, And so it's like through the process of writing and making these stories, it's like everything goes into it. And it's like, it's alchemy. It's alchemy. It's taking this pressure, and focusing it and releasing it, and I know that when we do that, it's like it all connects. That's like a secret code that's not so secret. You know what I mean? That's how we can tell the truth with one another when they shut down every, frequency or radio. Like there's a way for us all to keep talking to each other.
I think also that was brilliantly said, by the way, though. That was drilling this out.
Truly.
I think also we, as any artist, that kind of lead your life as an artist should reflect the way you lead your life, and that should be with curiosity and grace. Like I feel like we've gotten to a place. I think there's always been emotional discord, politically, social politically, for the last 40 years. What I've noticed now is that we're just afraid to talk about it, and most importantly, we're afraid or unwanting to listen. And I think the job of any artist is to do that, is to listen, to absorb, to take it in with curiosity, to take it in with grace, to recognize that if they don't agree or they're saying something different from your belief systems, their life isn't yours, their life experiences are different, and don't be fed or live with the ignorance of what you don't know, and give them the grace if they have ignorance of their own. And ignorance is not a negative word, it's just a lack of knowledge. And I think that we have gotten to a place that if we hear something that does not fundamentally agree because we're so polarized, because we're so passionate, we just shut it off or put them on mute. And that's why you're seeing now that reflected in the types of movies that are being made. Because now they're like, okay, I'm going to make this for these people. I'm going to make that for these people. And those audiences are going to see that, and those audiences are going to see that. And I think that is detriment to
so dangerous.
to the fundamental idea of being an artist. It's to bring these people and these people in one fucking room, and the art is that common denominator. So if you view yourself an artist, which requires that, then lead your life that way. It's kind of what
I mean, storytelling comes from your own personal experiences too. So you may not, I'm not the kind of filmmaker that would set out to make a film about a certain conflict because I'm passionate about one way or the other. But will stories come out later about it? Like my friend who lived in the States for 22 years but got deported away from his family because he had an unknown warrant for his arrest in Phoenix 20 years ago. He thought he paid a lawyer to take care of. Wow. Will that character come out later? Probably, because that's part of, that story telling is not a story about the immigration issues one side or the other. It's a personal experience story that'll probably come out in writing later. So
Yeah,
I think
fact, and you experienced it, and it happened to you.
right, so that it'll come out. A character like that will show up somewhere, and that story will show up somewhere. So
What I was just mouthing is, this was so fun. This was so fun. Oh my God. Thank you so much for doing this. I'm so grateful to all of you for taking
Thank you
part.
so much
Thank
for
you,
having
guys.
us. Thank you.
Wonderful.